Recently, my friend Sarah got a new puppy, and as any good pet parent, she wants to make sure her dog Nala is healthy and happy. Since I am majoring in animal science, she came to me with all of her questions. When she asked, "What is the best diet to feed your dog?" I knew I needed to do my research, and here's what I came up with. My research first started with finding out the nutritional needs of dogs. As all living creatures, dogs have energy requirements that need to be met. They also need to ingest certain molecules in order for their bodies to function normally. There are 6 nutrients that are essential to life, including water, carbohydrates, protein, fat, vitamins, and minerals. All are required in minimum amounts in order to meet the needs of your dog, but some are more specific than others. For example, there are 10 essential amino acids, which are the building blocks of protein. What is meant by essential is that dogs are unable to produce them on their own, and they must consume adequate amounts in their diet. Understanding the basic nutritional needs of your dog is important because it will help you decide how you're going to meet those requirements. In the U.S., the American Association of Feed Control Officials, or AFCO, sets the nutritional guidelines for pet food. So great, we've figured out what our dogs need to be healthy. Now what? Well, there are 4 basic diet plans that I've investigated. The traditional commercially produced dry and wet dog food, grain-free diets, vegetarian and vegan diets, and lastly, raw-based diets. Let's start with our traditional dry and wet dog food. Almost every grocery store sells some variety of this diet type. There are many choices, including dry, canned, and semi-moist. Each have their own benefits and disadvantages. Dry kibble is the most popular diet in the dog food industry. It's easy to control portion size. There's a variety of sizes, shapes, and flavors, so you're bound to find a variety your dog will like. It stores easily and can be used in interactive feeders or as an incentive during dog training. Semi-moist food is 60 to 65% water by weight, making it a pricier option. It also tends to have more chemical additives like preservatives, color, and flavor enhancers. It tends to be high in salt and sugar, making it not the best choice for everyday consumption. Lastly, we have wet dog food. It has an extremely high water content, so your dog can eat more before maxing out their calories for the day. It might be a good option for your dog if they're always hungry. Some dogs prefer the texture of wet food, and it might encourage your dog to eat if they aren't doing it on their own. Keep an eye on their teeth though. Wet food can lead to periodontal disease. What is great about all these choices is that they are manufactured using the AFCO guidelines. All the labels will have recommended feeding quantities that, when fed in the correct proportions to your dog, they will provide a nutritionally full and balanced diet. They also come in varieties to satisfy different life stages. When you feed your puppy, you are feeding him to grow. During adulthood, your dog needs to maintain a healthy weight. A pregnant or lactating dog needs to support a growing litter of puppies, while a diet for a senior dog needs to be adjusted for their slowing metabolism. Canned, semi-moist, and dry kibble all have options to satisfy these life stages, which makes them both convenient and beneficial to your dog. Next, let's look at grain-free diets. First, what are grains? The grain cereals that you might find in dog food include rice, barley, corn, oats, rye, quinoa, and wheat. Dog foods that are grain-free will not have any of these as ingredients. One reason you might use a grain-free diet is for food allergies. According to the Veterinary Centers of America, food allergies are one of the most common allergies to affect dogs. There is no evidence saying that grain-free diets are superior, but one study published last year found that for high energy expending working dogs in stressful environments, grain-free diets appeared to increase the nutrient digestibility and decrease the incidence of gastrointestinal disorders. There was another preliminary study released linking dilated cardiomyopathy to grain-free dog foods. Further studies have been released stating that the supposed link wasn't actually as simple as grain-free diets causing the disease. Instead, the DCM cases were caused by a taurine deficiency that may have been exacerbated by foods that were lacking in this amino acid. Let's move on to a vegetarian and vegan dog diet. I know what you're thinking. Why would you feed an animal descended from a wolf a plant-based diet? Well, dogs are in fact omnivores, meaning they can consume both plant and meat foods. One study found that following the domestication of dogs, our canine companions had increased gene expression of the gene AYM2B. This gene encodes for an enzyme that helps digest starch, meaning dogs are genetically different enough from wolves that their diets can be vegetarian or vegan in nature. They are better able to metabolize carbs and have lower protein requirements than wolves. One study reviewed the nutritional adequacy of vegetarian diets for both dogs and cats and found that dogs could thrive on nutritionally complete and balanced vegetarian formulas. They noted that urinary acidity may pose a problem but could be remedied with the appropriate supplements. One other cause for concern may be a deficiency in the vitamin B12 cobalamin. Cobalamin is an essential vitamin that is only found in animal products. Deficiencies in cobalamin can lead to anemia, leukopenia, and hypoglycemia. Dogs fed vegetarian or vegan diets may be more at risk for developing the deficiency. Supplementation is possible with cobalamin produced by microorganisms, so vegetarian and vegan diets are still a viable option if the food is nutritionally complete or supplements are provided. Lastly, we have our raw-based meat diets. Raw-based dog food typically include ingredients such as organ and muscle meats, whole and ground bone, raw egg, fresh fruits and veggies, and dairy products. The most common food allergies that dogs have are protein-based, especially those found in dairy. So this diet isn't made for every dog. Many feed their dogs raw because it is more natural since they are related to wolves. As we've established, dogs are biologically equipped to eat more than just meat. Preliminary studies have found that raw diets may have increased digestibility of proteins and may help improve immune function. Owners and vets have claimed benefits such as improved coat and skin health, reduced body, fecal, and breath odor, and behavioral and energy improvements. No studies at this time can support these claims with scientific evidence, though. The biggest risk from feeding raw is the increased chance to both you and your dog of coming into contact with infectious bacteria. One study compared kibble to raw dog food and found E. coli more frequently in the feces samples of dogs fed a raw diet. They also found an increased incidence of Campylobacter bacteria. The FDA warns against feeding raw and recommends practicing good hygiene when food prepping raw diets or coming into contact with your dog's mouth or feces to prevent the spread of infectious bacteria. The most important aspect of feeding a raw diet is ensuring both you and your dog's safety from harmful bacteria. Now that we have some more information, there's one last thing for us to consider. Which diet best meets the needs of our dog? Well, all of them can. Remember, AAFCO sets the nutritional guidelines for pet foods. All dog foods in the country are required to have an informational panel that has a nutritional adequacy statement. That statement will tell you if a food meets AAFCO guidelines. If a statement says the food was formulated to meet the guidelines from AAFCO, your dog can receive a nutritionally complete and balanced meal from that product. All 4 diets we went over have commercially available foods that meet AAFCO guidelines. You may need to be more discerning when reading the statements to make sure the meal is nutritionally complete, but options do exist for all 4 diet types. What becomes an issue is when owners decide to make their own food versus buying pre-made ones. It is extremely difficult to meet all the nutritional requirements when preparing homemade meals for dogs. In a homemade meal containing 2 parts rice, 2 parts chicken breast, 1 part cooked veggies, it was found that dogs will need 1.5 times more zinc, 36 times more vitamin E, and 10 times more vitamin B. There has been links to obesity and other health risks with home-based meals because of the difficulty in preparing a meal that meets the AAFCO guidelines. In the end, it's really up to you on how you want to feed your dog. The best thing you can do is to talk to your vet and work together with them to best meet your dog's needs. Every dog is different, and what works for one may not work for yours. Remember the risks and benefits of each diet when choosing, and don't be afraid to try something new if it's not to you and your dog's liking. The only diet I recommend against is a homemade one because it's so difficult to formulate at home. But only you can decide what works best for you and your lifestyle. The most important thing is that your dog is happy and healthy. Hope you learned as much as I did during this dive into dog nutrition.